My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask pardon for my sins and the grace to make these moments of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. So here we are. We've made it. We've arrived at Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. And Jesus, I have to admit that I always seem to have the same sort of feeling on this day. Every year I get up in the morning and I feel as if I've lived a huge celebration. Well, I know I've lived a huge celebration. It's as if inside my head there was a house that was still littered with bits of wrapping paper, leftovers around the kitchen bench and the fridge, lots of things left out of place, but all of it speaking not of disorder, but of the aftermath of joy. It's a good kind of mayhem inside my head today. I tend to think about all the stuff that has happened in the past day or so. There's the big mass of Christmas Day itself, of course, with all its amazing liturgy. There's the celebration afterwards and the meal which typifies much of Christmas Day celebrations everywhere. And of course, I find myself passing through the memories of everyone I've met and everyone I spent time with yesterday, because one of the best things by far about Christmas Day is the time spent with family and friends. As soon as I say that to you, Lord, I can't help but return to a topic which comes up relatively often in my prayer during the Christmas season, which is to pray for all those who don't have friends or family around them at this time of year. I'm not trying to make our prayer today sound depressing or guilty or anything like that, but I am asking your help, Jesus, for those souls. It seems so unfair to think that there are people who spend Christmas alone when everyone else has so much joy around them. It's almost as if the celebration makes more evident what those people don't have, and I don't want anyone to find themselves lonely in the Christmas season, nor at any other time. So firstly, I'm simply asking you to keep those souls company as only you can, to draw them close to you and to help them to know that even if the whole world fails them, they still have you. But I'm also asking you to help us to respond, to go out and help people who are lonely, because I don't want, and I don't think any of us want, to be like those people St. James talks about in his letter. He says, if a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and eat your fill, and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? Now, again, I'm not trying to sound depressing on the day after Christmas, nor do I expect this to be the focus of our prayer today, but I do want to be realistic about the need to bring souls to you, and about the amazing joy that we can bring to others with just a little bit of love. Because for any lonely soul like that, just a little bit of joy lived with others changes everything. All this also makes me think again of the Christmas mystery. If I go back to the stable in Bethlehem today, the day after Christmas, what do I find? I can see Mary and Joseph there with the baby Jesus. The wise men brought their presents, but they've left. The shepherds who must have caused so much talk earlier on with their stories about angelic visions, well, they didn't even stay the night. Even if people were amazed by what they said, it seems that no one bothered enough to drop in and see for themselves. The party's over, in a certain sense, for Mary and Joseph too. They are still in a manger, it's still cold, and everyone else has gone home to get on with their life. It's the day after Christmas. Perhaps that's a bit more like a day-to-day experience of the faith, because, let's face it, most days aren't exactly like Christmas. Mary and Joseph, though, were left in a stable, but with a new baby. The baby that was God among us, the Emmanuel, and at the same time, a baby in constant need of care. That's also a bit like our faith. It's God amongst us, even in our soul, but at the same time, in constant need of care. Now, caring for a baby makes a lot of sense to anyone. People put up with months of sleepless nights and constant attention during the day because they see this living human being who depends on them. and they know that they are preparing something for the future. Their caring for the baby is not just doing something now, but doing something for the future, something to prepare the future, even though no one knows exactly what that baby will do with their life in the future. Okay, Mary and Joseph knew pretty well what Jesus was going to do, but that's the exception. Our faith is like a mixture of the two. We know some of what will happen through it in the future, but a lot of that also remains hidden deep inside the heart of God. The one thing that's certain is that we need to take care of it, just like one needs to take care of a baby. Oh, what? I hear you saying, I didn't sign up for this. I thought the faith was so that God could take care of me. And in a certain sense it is. God still cares for us, even if we give faith only the minimum of care. But caring for that faith helps it to grow and flourish. Only if this happens does it bear all its fruit, its most unexpected fruit, because that's about how the faith takes root in you and me. And it comes to fruition in a way that's completely unique to you and me. It's also unknown even to us, inasmuch as we don't understand how the spiritual life works until we have begun to tread it, because everything else that we experience operates by a different principle. It operates by very material and very temporal principles. But how does the Emmanuel, the God with us, take root in our soul? That's for us to discover by launching out into the unknown, and doing so with a lot of trust in the God who calls us into what we do not fully see. I was talking with a family recently, and the two young boys of the family were telling me how for Christmas last year they received helmets from their parents. Now, you and I can probably see where this is going straight away, but these boys, being young, didn't quite click at the time. But the best thing was the excitement with which they told the story. They didn't understand what was going on, but their dad kept nudging them bit by bit until finally they discovered that the real present wasn't the helmets from under the tree, but 2 new bikes in the garage. That's just like us with the faith. We don't really understand, but we trust that God our Father is taking us to something even greater than what we have imagined. We don't know what it is, but we know Him, and therefore we trust. That's the way we live our faith on a day-to-day basis, the day after Christmas, for example, and pretty much every other day too. Most likely anyone listening to 10 Minutes with Jesus is convinced already of the need for prayer. There's no doubt that that's us taking care of the baby, so to speak. With our prayer, along with the sacraments, we nurture the faith, our faith, and help it to take root in our soul. But what about the role of the father who kept nudging those 2 boys to find the present that they weren't expecting? That's spiritual direction. A good guide helps us to see where to go in the interior life, and helps us also to recalibrate our expectations of the fruit we hope for, to recalibrate so that they be less temporal expectations and much more ambitious, divine expectations. All that requires a lot of learning on our part, and it's much easier for us if we have someone who can point out the way. And then, of course, the joy that we have is just like those 2 boys recounting the story, the enthusiasm that they had in talking of the experience of the discovery with the help of their Father. Well, it's our Father God who has hidden the true gift for us to discover, but we get there more easily with the help of a good guide, one of His aides. And we end up with the joy of those 2 young boys and the discovery of what was, by their Father, already planned. Going now again to look at Mary in the manger of Bethlehem, we see her beginning the everyday, the every ordinary day, where she is also discovering the depths of divinity every day, every seemingly boring and ordinary day, like the day after Christmas. And we ask her for the help to do the same in our own lives, today, the day after Christmas, and every day. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations which you have communicated to me in this time of prayer. I ask your assistance in putting them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.